早安，大家好，欢迎大家出席今
Good
天的
morning, everyone, and welcome all of you to this International Cultural Exchange.
此届将以普通话进行，并设
This
有
session will be conducted in Mandarin and will also provide the simultaneous interpreting service. So if you need this service, you can go to the Zoom online.
simultaneous interpretation service. To use this service, please click on the SI button using the Zoom app after redirected from our virtual platform. 在开始之前，请留
Before
意
we
以下
start, please be reminded this workshop will last about 45 and it will be ended around 11:15 Hong Kong time. And only the host and the panelist can use the recording function. If audience want to raise questions, you can ask your questions in the Q&A session. And we will select some questions and answer them. And HKE will record on all the program and remain the rights of its usage. And this workshop is 2A. I'm the host for this session. My name is Mandy, and we are very pleased to invite expert of cultural creativity and innovation, Mr. Li Hang, to talk about on the challenges and opportunities in China for artists from Hong Kong. So, Mr. Li, are you online? Yes. Good morning. So, the floor is yours. Thank you. Thank you, Hong Kong Arts Administrators Association's invitation. And this morning, I will spend about 1 hour to share with you my personal experience and the artistic director in Taipei artistic festival, and also invited by the Shanghai World Expo in 2009, and became the festival director and the operation director in this urban arts festival. And in the past 3 years, I also joined in the arts festivals and cultural programs in mainland. I also want to use this opportunity to talk about my opinions and experience. And we also have the QA. If you have questions, I welcome all your questions. And today, my topic is challenges and opportunities in China for artists from Hong Kong. First of all, I'd like to ask you a question. Why you enter the mainland market? What's the reason? What's the starting point to your group, your team, and yourself? So I think the motivation is important. As long as you have already analyzed your motivation, you can think the further opportunities thoroughly. I think maybe there are three perspectives for people, for friends from Hong Kong to enter the mainland market. And the first, you have your own works in Hong Kong. You want to expand its possibilities to the mainland market to gain more sessions and venue or performing opportunities. So this is a kind of subsidies. It's a kind of a subsidized opportunity. And the second, it's kind of exploration or expansion. You have already got the basis and you want the opportunity to develop new possibilities. And the third, I considered as a collaboration. That is, I have some thoughts and the creative ideas. I want to collaborate with some partners in mainland and for this artistic creation. So perhaps audience online and on-site, you can think about the starting point or motivation. What kind of motivation you have to enter the mainland market? In terms of the mainland market and the working mindset, actually, there are some differentiations. And in mainland, the cultural industries or the cultural creation, they always emphasize the scale, and they all emphasize the possible scale in the future. And from my personal view, in Hong Kong, perhaps friends in Hong Kong, they are more good at creating uniqueness, or they have some creativities. And in 2021, and the scale of performing arts in mainland is about 33.5 billion RMB. It's about 5 billion US dollar. And the sessions is about 190,000 sessions. So you can see I also categorize them into different groups. The first type is opera, and second drama, third music, fourth dance, and the fifth is cultural tourist performance. And for the previous types, most of them are performed on the formal stages. And the last one is the cultural tour performance. It's about 70,000, and they have the fixed venues in some cultural or tourist spots. And these sessions are very large. So maybe you can have a rough idea that even the tourism is impacted by the COVID, but this kind of performance is still in its scale. And this chart shows that the female audience accounted a larger percentage. So you can see from 18 years old to 39 years old, it accounts for about two-thirds. And the top cities, number one is Beijing, and second is Shanghai, and third is Guangdong. The coastal cities are more than the inland cities. So those are the comparison of the cities and the genders. I also want to know, also want to let you know that the basic landscape of the performance in mainland. If you want to go to the go to the mainland market, and the mainland audience have their preferences in terms of gender and the cities. And this are the box office and also the price of the tickets. So you can see the large concerts and the music festivals, the price can be very high. In mainland, many performances, the government will make subsidies to the ticket price. For example, if you introduce some international performance and the cost is very high, so if you just convert the cost into the ticket, maybe the average price is above 1,500. So the competitiveness of the international performance in mainland will be very low compared with the local performance. Therefore, the government will make the subsidies to those international performance to encourage more audience to enjoy those international culture. So you can see this subsidies percentage is very high. It's about 45%, and 45% are from the government. And this chart is the forecast before COVID. Of course, after the COVID, and these numbers have to reduce. And even though we still think by the year of 2025, uh, this market size will reach 50 billion RMB. So we can estimate this market will be expanded in the future as well. So I want to remind all the audience there are a lot of possibilities in mainland market, but we still need to insist the characteristics and uniqueness of the Hong Kong team and Hong Kong creative works, and we would better to emphasize vertical differentiation, and we don't need the involution. Involution is a buzzword in mainland. It's a kind of competition in a vicious circle. But for the outside people, for people outside of mainland, you don't need to be uh, involved in this evolution, and you have to pay more attention to the vertical differentiation. And I have 4 parts to share with you. The first is the characteristics of mainland market. What kind of basic
就是非常重要一个观念哦，就是大家
of the mainland audience? What are their expectations? And the third is about the creativity and also the demand of the market. And the fourth is the fixed venue, tour, or festival performance. Which kind you will choose? And for the third part, we think the mutual demand is important. If you go to any market, you can create those mutual demands, and this will help you enter this market. First of all, we will talk about the China special artistic market. What kind of barriers you need to notice? The, the cultural creation is not only the commercial or an individual behavior. It belongs to the public service. It needs to be guided by the government, and also it need to follow the government rules, which means you have to obtain the approval from the government. Some groups and teams collaborated with the mainland partners before, and they will know the concept. But for those didn't, perhaps you don't have this kind of a concept. So I have to say that the culture or the public performance belong to part of the public culture and needs to be approved by the government. And for the cultural and artistic performance and exhibitions, if you sell the tickets or if it's profitable, it needs to be approved. Therefore, you have to consider what kind of performance you will operate. You want to do the public service, or you want to do any social influence? And what are the policies, for example, the cultural creation or the big day area policies? What's the relationship with you? In mainland, we have to study the analysis or have to analyze the policies of the market. So please choose the bright way. So it's like you, recent years, there are quota policies for the movie like arts, and the second is about the Mahua Fun Age. It's a kind of comedian comic performance or the comic dialogues. For commercial performance, it has some relationship with their social influence. And for culture, it's a kind of public service. In terms of the policy trend, they want the fusion of the traditional culture and the modern culture, and also the combination of culture and technology, and also tell the China story well. And for the commercial mechanism, they want this entertainment or leisure time for the urban white collars, and also the entertainment for people outside the province, or they want it to be tossed, or they want it to cry. So this is a kind of expectation from the commercial mechanism. In terms of the cultural depth, I think there are basic principles, and audience prefer a good stories and prefer the touching stories, and I can tell the story to other friends, and it's better to make me cry. And for those works, I'm willingly to tell the story to others. So those kind of stories and works um, very or those kind of works and stories carry the uh, good stories of China and also their social influence. So those works are welcomed in mainland market. So if you studied the ancient drama, and you will know the ancient Greek question, it's kind of man know yourself. So if you enter the mainland market, you also need to consider what kind of path you will take, commercial or public culture, or perhaps you will combine the two together. So there are three perspectives. The first is a commercial path, and second is a public culture service path, and the third is the hybrid of the commercial and the cultural service. I have to say, mainland market is an ocean, it's a blue ocean. So you how to enter but not be immersed. You need a partner. It's a partner, it's an organization. And also our Hong Kong Arts Administrators Association is a kind of those organization and partner. And when you enter, you can build your brand gradually. Your competitors sometimes are your partners. For example, the state-owned performing or theater institutes or the people's arts theaters or the state-owned enterprises. And the others are the private institutes and the private companies. I like this sentence. Napoleon said, without opportunities, power is meaningless. I think Hong Kong friends, you have this power or capability. If you enter the mainland market, you can empower your capabilities, expand your capabilities. And for the cultural tour and cultural innovation, and also the Greater Bay Area, and even those assistive and subsidized programs will help you. And those are the opportunities help you unlock unlock the market. And for the explanation of the policies, you need someone to interpret for you. I have to emphasize the interpretation of the policies based on the trust. And trust is the basis of a collaboration, is also the basis for the assistance. So in the future, maybe you can consider some fixed or recurrent column or programs on the policy interpretation and explanation. Perhaps it's a kind of a workshop or the kind of application programs on the mainland market policies. For the artistic exhibition, and they must obey the government's guide and obtain the government approval. And second is market um, mechanism, and you can apply for the subsidies or it's a complete profit oriented. And if you want to enter the mainland markets, you need partners. And maybe Hong Kong can create some China style works and to echo China chic or China fashion, this kind of a way. So, so you can see Li Ziqi and the viewers in YouTube is over 10 million. So this is a good example of telling the China story well, and also as well as cultural expansion. So this is a kind of a direction you can consider. This also um, matches the China chic wave or China fashion. And second, I want to talk about the preference of the an um, audience in the mainland and their expectations. It's like coffee and tea, and for coffee, you just drink a cup quickly, but for a tea, you can drink it for a whole day. So in mainland market, it needs time to gradually immerse or to gradually um, get used to this market. So for the public service, it was paid by the government. But for the market mechanism, you need a lot of marketing, and you need the uniqueness, characteristics, and the differentiations. The audience in mainland market is very large, and for the young audience with the consumption power, they have high the it's a kind of a very high homogeneity taste, but they will still be attracted by the innovation or new things. For example, and this picture is De Yunshe, led by Guo Degang, and they invited the young people to perform the comic dialogues, 相声. So they injected this kind of innovation and the young elements into the traditional performance style, 相声 comic dialogues. And in recent years, there will be more stand-up comedies or talk shows. But Hong Kong conducted or did the talk shows many years ago, and it's a long time ago. And they have in this performance in large theaters. For example, Zhang Ruiwen, Mr. Zhang Ruiwen, and Hong Kong has this basis. Of course, the language they use is Cantonese, so it has the markets in the Greater Bay Area, in Guangdong area, and we have this basis. So actually, we have the cumulative experience of the market mechanism. So there are large possibilities for this comic dialogues or the stand-up comics, comedy, to be developed in mainland. So it's like the flocks and herds. So it some works have those similar universality as well as the speciality. And we also need to emphasize the differentiations of the cities and the differentiations of types. We also need to consider those things. And the audiences in mainland, they like traditions, yes. And also there are many people they like those kind of outlandish. And this is the letter of resignation from a middle school teacher. And he said, the world is big. I want to go and visit. So just one sentence in his resignation letter. So we need to build a bridge to connect the mainland people to the world. Exhibitions and the cultural performance and artistic performance are very attractive to the mainland audience. And there are two perspectives for the audiences. And the first is the classics, adaptation, and immersive theaters. So I think the keywords is touching, and also I think another keyword is outlandish. It has some connections with the international world. For example, 雷雨, the drama 雷雨
看到右边的这个海报，就是邓树荣老师呢跟这个内
is
地
called
的
Thunderstorm, and we also have some dance performance of Thunderstorm. So the collaboration between Hong Kong and the mainland are very possible, and as well as the Red Roses and the White Roses are written by Eileen Zhang. On your left hand, the poster is the classic drama. It's from the People's Art Theatre. And also, so if you do some adaptation based on those classics, and this will gain the attention from the audience. And this one is a tea house, and this pictures the traditional drama of Beijing people's art theaters. And this picture is from director Li Liuyi in Sichuan, because Sichuan also has the tradition of drinking tea, and they has their special characteristics of the tea house. So they also present this performance in another style, and in this picture shows another style of the tea house. So I want to emphasize Hong Kong. We also have our own tea house and also the special habits of tea drinking. So maybe we can have the performance from the perspective of Hong Kong tea house. It's also kind of a creative point. And another example is a white hair girl. This is a classic, and perhaps if you perform this and from the perspective of Hong Kong ballet, um, maybe we will also add the innovative elements. And then this one is the San Jie Liu impression. This is a kind of a cultural performance. A lot of an audience flocks into this tourist sports to enjoy the performance. And this kind of performance creates a lot of profits. It also changed the consideration perspective of the traditional tourist. And then this is about the story of Ping Yao. It's also an immersive performance. So on your left hand, the stage is very close to the audience. All the audience are immersed in the performance. And in Shanghai, in recent years, the a very good performance, and it has a good box office. And this is the Sleep No More. It's introduced from other countries. So it's also an adaptation of the classics. So it's a kind of adaptation of Shakespeare's uh, drama and change it into this kind of immersive theater. So you have to consider what kind of style you need to adopt. It's a kind of public culture or the commercial performance. And for any type, you need to consider the marketing and the education cost. So keywords are touching and tell the China story well. So as long as I cry, I will tell the story to other people. So whether this kind of a style suits you, you have to consider. Or you also need to change and adapt with your partners. So it needs further works. And as for the exhibitions, and many people they go to the exhibitions not only for some photo shots. So many exhibitions are designed with those photo spots and only for these photo shots on the social medias. And for this experimental performance or exploration performance or non-narrative performance, and those performances are in a relatively small theaters, and the audience are most um, young people and from the urban area. For exhibitions, there are also a large exhibitions in mainland. For example, the Picasso's works and also the Tado's exhibitions. And those are the brand and celebrity effect. And this is about the Shanghai. For example, um, there are over 650 exhibitions in 2021 in Shanghai, and 66 museums and galleries are free of charge, and all of them attracted about 6.21 million people. So you can also have the collaboration with those museums and collaborations and galleries. And this is also a good theater or drama called Fanghua, and Dr. Wong Kar-wai will make a film based on this. And the original novel is in Shanghai dialect. And it has they have some tour performance from Shanghai to Chengdu, and many people they have to watch the performance with the subtitles. People are accepting this kind of subtitling performance, and their sessions are very large, and also the performance respond good. And another type, for example, the Agatha Christie's novels, or the detective novels, or the mouse strap, and they also need this kind of adaptation on the classics, and as well as the internal wave. Those are the classics. As a dance theater uh, based from adaptation of the drama. So, what's the expectation of the audience in mainland? Actually, the culture the artistic culture belongs to a part of the life education. So the audience, they like to hear stories, like to be touched, and if it can make them cry, it's better. And you also need to consider the marketing and education cost, and you also have to consider, for example, the the photo spots and the classic adaptations. I mean, those are the entry points for your works. And also, another example is about the Shanghai International Arts Festival. The international festival, the arts festival are very good. They also have this kind of a forum and performance arts affair. So after the COVID, Hong Kong friends can go to those performing arts affair to join. I also emphasize this kind of a mutual demand. So we have to consider those mutual demand. So there are different types, the government subsidies and also the market mechanism. And those are the cases. And the in 2020, Beijing subsidized the subsidized to 25 million sessions artistic performance, and also the 500,000 tickets with low price. And also, for example, in Hainan, they has the subsidies as high as 1 million for the elite performance. So perhaps you can also apply for those subsidies. For example, the 5 million in this cultural tourist sports, and you can reapply those subsidies annually. And from the performance market, the audience are increasing, and from the cultural industries, government subsidies and support are increasing. And I also want to talk from two perspectives. And the government led and the market mechanism, and how do they come across? And second, if you think your works are good, how to make others agree? And for the state-owned theaters and institutes, they receive the subsidies from the government and also support from their old fans and audience. So if you are sell the tickets session by session, it's very difficult. Therefore, you need a partnership. You need a long-term program and plans. If you think your works are good, so you don't need any partnership. Actually, it's impossible to exist in a mainland market because there are tremendous performance and works in mainland markets, and audience even don't know the existence of your works. Therefore, you need the marketing and a partnership and to attract the audience. So this is the Shanghai circus city, and also there is a circus in Shanghai, and they will have about 1 or 2 sessions every day. And the first session and the first performance, they invited this Cirque du Soleil from Italy and to do this performance. So I think in Hong Kong and in Hong Kong teams and many Hong Kong teams can also partner with the local teams in mainland, and uh, there will be the new style of this performance. And second is you can invite some artistic performer or some artists from mainland and to collaborate with them. And you know this Peony Pavilion, they present or they perform every year, and the production is supported by the Shanghai Big Theater, and the producer is from Taiwan, and the costume design is from Taiwan, and the director is from Shanghai, and also the script writer and actors from mainland. So apart from the creativity directors or the creativity design, perhaps you can like the other parts to be done and operated by mainland partners, and this is also kind of collaboration. And another way is you operate the venue by yourself and you can promote the performance by yourself. So this is a 上剧场 in Shanghai. So it's a collaboration between the Lai Shengchuan and the Shanghai theater operator. So as long as you operate the theaters, you can promote and perform your own dramas. And this is also a possibility, and it's another kind of consideration for you. And the fourth, and you can leverage the agents. For example, the 勇者之剑 and the and contemporary legendary theaters, and they also use the mainland agents to expand their performance and sessions. And the market needs a traditional or works with the hot topics. And also governments encourage the positive energy, and they also need the creative works embedded the traditions. So do you see the Where is Willy cartoon when you were a child? And so this is a kids cartoon. So you have to find out Willy. Can you find out Willy in this beach? So if you want to let them feel the same that your works are good, you have to find out Willy, because this kind of agreement is Willy. Maybe Willy is in the market, or maybe it's in the government, or maybe it's in the cultural collaboration. Therefore, I think collaboration needs trust, and the really needs promise. If you collaborate with the state-owned institutes, you need a trust. Of course, it needs time. So this is the little summary. The mutual demand can create possibility. And what's the demand of the market? Audience are growing. The venues of performance are growing, and the programs demand are growing as well. And the government and also the ordinary people um, get used to the traditional things, and those works can be subsidized. But sometimes you cannot apply for those as an outsider. And if for the government, and government encourage the works with positive energies, as well as the works with traditions. And the audience expected the creativity performance. So there are four methods and ways to the mainland market. And the first, you can partnerize with the mainland friends. And second is you operate the venue, and the third is you based on your adaptation and create the new works. And the fourth is about the uniqueness. And these are the examples. For example, the Alexandra Theater from Germany, Richard III, and also from the French festival. This is about the dragon's sorrow, and those works are introduced in the mainland international festivals, and they are also getting the subsidies from the government. So if you go to the Central Drama Research Institute, you will know the Nanluo Guxiang. Nanluo Guxiang, it's a kind of alley. It's a traditional alley, and it has its own theater festival. It wants to gather the young artistic works, and the theater is very small. It's only contains about 100 people, but after 2 to 3 years development, they also gain the subsidies from the government, and they expand their size gradually. It also has some tips for us through the collaboration and partnership, even in the tier 2 or tier 3 cities. And after gradual development, you can also apply for the subsidies of the government and expand your market. And this is the analysis of the China performing arts and the artistic performance market, and it's a forecast. So it has a great potential. Last but not least, I want to talk about what kind of way you will choose. It's a fixed venue, tour, or artistic festival or art festival. So actually, at the beginning, if you just enter the market, you are alone, of course, as Napoleon said before, without opportunities, power, or capabilities, are meaningless. Before the contract signing, you have to double check your budget and the working schedule. Those are correct or not? Maybe there are different habits on the working schedule in mainland, and also the professionalism are not at the same time. Some people are not very professional, but some are very professional. And for in terms of the budget, you have a detailed analysis as well. So it's better to collaborate and discuss with the experienced team or find out acceptable way for both sides. And after a long time development, maybe you will gain the opportunities in fixed theaters, or you can join some um, cultural programs. It's a Peter Bruning. The empty space, the empty space. Maybe you are very familiar. So as long as you have the space, and the people passed by, and the performance occur. And Hong Kong has a long-term connection with the international world, and we have a very a sensitive this sensitive connection with the other places. We also have the experience of the partnership with international society, and for the partnership with the mainland. This is the beginning, but the experience of the international community will help us to forge our collaboration with the mainland institutes. And this is also a line from Chongqing Forest. So it said, I don't know when I become a very careful people. Every time I wear raincoat, I will wear sunglasses because you never know when it's raining and when the sun comes out. As long as you create the trust, you will develop and explore the possibilities of partnership. And ours reflect times, no matter it is in the past or at present. The mainland market is very huge. Very few works can make waves. So it's better to lower your expectations, and if you don't try them, if you cannot find a suitable way or the suitable mindset, and most of the time your works will just turn into the foams or the bubbles on the surface of the sea. Therefore, the mindset and the style are very important. So we return to the original question: why you enter the mainland market? For subsidies, for expansion or collaboration, or it's the tipping point for your creative team. And this is also another famous line in the Lenin's film. It says, "We will have the bread, we will have the milk, and for today, we will have the market as long as you outreach your hand, and you outreach your hand as long as far as possible." Therefore, we have to think brand building. You need to build your brand or for your team and yourself. And this is the book is know yourself and accept yourself. And it said the invisible enemies is impossible to be beat. So if you seeing is reborning, so if you make any decisions, you'd better to discuss and analyze. You'd better know the market size of the mainland first, and the differentiations and familiarities and unfamiliarities. You'd better be familiar with your partners in mainland. A saying is a rebirth. If you go to the mainland market, it's the right timing, or in the future, or you will do it in the future. And Hong Kong drama group is also a very important group, and some mainland theaters adapted it into a large drum performance. And some collaborations between Hong Kong and the mainland in the past, and the copyright was bought by the mainland companies, and therefore you can see the acceptance or the this kind of brand or the capabilities at high level, and Hong Kong drama theaters is very advanced. So you must have the confidence. there must be some possibilities, some opportunities in mainland China. In addition, we have to think. You have to think in a different way. The cultural service industry has a strong foundation in Hong Kong. So maybe we can also bridging the gap between the culture service industry from mainland and Hong Kong. For example, the cultural performance and the cultural design and the cultural team training and operation. I think Hong Kong talents are very capable and competitive on this regard. Therefore, the cultural service industry is also an important perspective. For the fixed venue, the revenue is not big, and for the festivals and the cultural tour, the revenue are relatively stable. So, what kind of a way you choose, and you have to consider why they choose you to do this cultural tour performance, and why people choose you to do the
差异化，我们可以把差异化做深，把独特性拉出来。那么
elements and the creativities.
这边给各位看一下哦，就是《古惑仔》在讲什么故事呢？
And so for this
团结力量大。
movie, as you know,
很远，阿拉伯有一句
this is the
非常喜欢，叫做
movie.
人走得快。
This is the movie 古惑仔 emphasize the young and the dangerous. It emphasizes the team spirit and teamwork.
帮助才可以走得远。
And you need a team of people to go further.
多的挑战，最好是有一群人，可能
It's
是
better to have a group of
内
people.
地的合作伙伴，
It may be you
香港
or other
本身有
people
经验的人，或者有相同
or
的
the
期望的人，
people
有
with
相
the
同
same
热情
experience and
相同
expectation and a
可以
passion.
一
They
起
wanted
一
to
起
go
往
farther.
前走。
And with their
所以接下
partnership,
来呢，
we can
提
go
出
farther.
4
We
个
can go
看法
further.
角度。
So I
接
also
下来各位
propose
朋友可以做的，就是几
the
个动作
4
可以做的。
actions.
如果你考虑要前进内地
And the
市场，
first
最
is
基
the
本的
basic
基本动
action.
作就是
If you
要
want
持
to
续地关注
enter
政策，
mainland
持
market,
续
you
地
have
关
to
注政策，
constantly
分
pay
析政策，
attention to the
或者
policies and
开
analyze the
会 做
policies. So
定
perhaps
规，
our
或者一些
association can
相
help,
同类似
or
的剧院， 这
the
个
similar
演出的
institutes,
话，
for
演出的
example, the theaters or the dance or even
个
the
别
visual arts
可以考虑的
association
就是
associations can consider these
分析，还有
actions.
申请方向的
For example, the
然后
interpretation
这
of
边
the
第二个
policies
建立人脉非常重要，
and
这里头
application
考虑就是
policies,
你要加入
etc. And
当地的
second,
专业协会，比如说
connection
戏剧家协
building.
会呀、
For example,
文化
you
协
you'd
会
better
呀、
join
文乐
the
啊，
drama
这些等等一起
association or the
合作的协
cultural
会，一定要考虑去加入，
association.
这样
And
得
we
到
also
的
have
讯
some
息就
branches
更
in
多，
Hong
所以我们
Kong,
的邀
and
约
you
就
can
不能
consider
提
to
前先
join.
出来，所以
You
这是
can
2个
accept
第三个
more
就是打
information
造
from
我
those
们的， 那么
associations
打造品
and
牌很多新
and
的
also
元素，
build new
比如说
connections.
也
And the
可以
third
利用
action
我们
is
的
a
小红
brand
书
building.
公众号、
You
影音
can
号
use
这
the
些都
social
是
medias, for
新的部
example,
分是我们的
Xiaohongshu, the
这
Little
是
Red
第一个部
Book,
分要去打
and
造品牌，
other
第二个
WeChat
部
or
分
those new social
我
medias
刚好
to
这边
build your
有
brand.
一个
And the
文化
fourth
服务
action,
的这个部分，
cultural service.
好，
I
那这
think
边
this
看
is
到
a
有一个
very
香港非常有竞
a
争力的
competitive
内容
perspective
设计、引
for
导、
Hong Kong
培
friends.
训
For
各
example,
部分，
design,
你如果
contents,
出差异化
leadership, and the training.
所以
And
最后
it's
我要
very
看到
possible
的
to
呢，就是
create
如
differentiated
果
services.
前进内地对于你来讲，是因为你有余裕，你希望可以补贴得到更多的回报，那么可以
If
考
you
虑
want
前
to
进内
gain
地，
more
或者创
return,
造新的可能性，演出多一个点，合作多一
return
个
and
点，
also
然后
you
你
have
必须要
this
建立
kind
这
of
些
extra
人脉。
capability, you can
那
enter
提到就是
mainland Hong
我的
Kong.
朋友
you can enter the mainland market. And if you want to have new collaborations and you can create new ideas, you can enter a mainland market. So entering market is a kind of a possibility. So a passion is not only a 1 second, but a whole life. So this concludes my sharing and presentation, and I welcome all your questions. Very inspiring speech and presentation. I also think it's very encouraging, and for your insights, I will review your PowerPoints later. I also saw many questions here. So can you see them? If you cannot see them, I will read them. Yes, please. Maybe have some, yes, you can drink some water and have a little break. The first question is, and what's the biggest difference between between mainland and Hong Kong in terms of the culture making and arts making? First, I think the performance is for an audience. We want to attract the audience. But in mainland, there are tremendous information, and the audiences are immersed in those information. So how do you get the audience? Is the difficulty. So there are a lot of exhibitions and performance are free or with the tickets. So how do you let the audience know? It's kind of a barrier. Traditionally, we use the paper and also we use the newspapers and also broadcast, but it's become very difficult now. For example, if your artists will go to Sichuan to do a performance in Christmas, so how do you let the audience know? You have to make the preparation now. So perhaps you can create these a little red book public account or WeChat public account. The marketing is very important. Other than the standardized marketing measures, you need to create an interesting marketing channel, and you can attract your audience but not bother your audience. If it's very boring or it's bothering, and the audience and those visitors will cancel or delete your public accounts, and you lose the audience, potential audience. And second, the uniqueness and also the outlandish characters and this creativities are very important. And for the audiences, maybe it's a little difficult for them to understand a completely new story. But if you combine this uniqueness and creativity and outlandish characters with the traditional stories, and they will be very popular. So I think this kind of differentiations are the strength for Hong Kong Friends. So, in nutshell, marketing and promotion are very important. And the second, and this new and uniqueness, and also the speciality are very important. And the marketing, as I know, is very important. And as you mentioned, this is a long time market, it's a long time collaboration, and those are very important. The marketing plays a very important role. And second question, I want to ask, in the past 2 years, the COVID and the quarantine had a great impact on the internationally introduced programs. So when it will be open, maybe it's related to policies. And what about the kids' theaters? And the outlook of the kids' theaters in mainland? What are the preferences of the parents and the kids? I think the second part of the question is very important. Can I answer this part first? And the kids' theaters are very potential. If you are interested, please pay more attention to 小不点 theater, 小不点大世界. This is a Shanghai theater, and I can send the link to the association. You can study the case. The audience of the theaters. So actually, it's only 100 seats in the theater, but the price is about 200 RMB. So for each drama, it's at least 2 tickets, right? Because for the ticket for kids as well as one of their parents, and they will also have the annual pass or the different packages. And they are below 10 years old, and the market is targeting those groups because above 10 years old, they have to prepare for the examinations. So below 10 years old, the kids' theaters are very potential. As I emphasized before, mainland audiences, they prefer the traditional stories, but for kids and for kids' contents, they don't need the traditionals. So 80% of the 小不点大世界 theaters are introduced from international contents. At the same time, they have the collaborations between the international arts and mainland arts. And it also has some the extended business. For example, the training and the workshops, and it won't be impacted by the COVID because kids are growing and the parents want the kids to know the new things. So for the first part of your question, when the COVID ends, maybe I need the crystal ball to answer. But for its impact, I can say that the impact of the COVID is reducing this year. Maybe after autumn of next year, and the market will turn to the normal. Of course, this year we saw a lot of cancellations of the theaters or the decline of the sales of the box office. But it also remind us that the partners are very important. If your partners are sensitive and they can receive the information as soon as possible. So, in other words, the kids theaters are the blue ocean in the blue ocean, right? Yes, exactly. You can sell the stocks now. Okay, thank you. We also have a lot of questions here. So if you want to find the partnership in mainland, what kind of information source we can get? There are three perspectives. There are three perspectives. So maybe in the future, our arts administrators associations can help you. The first is the policy analysis. For example, the cultural tourism ministry, and they are related websites. You have to go to those websites to read often. And the second is their public accounts, and they always unleash a lot of information and the notice and those reports, and you need people to interpret a lot of sentences. For example, 2 to 3 years ago, many cultural industrial parks were encouraged and subsidized, and those informations can be found on those websites and public accounts. And the third is the professional associations. For example, the cultural alliance and the drama association, and also the dance association, etc. And the state-owned institutes, their website, and in those websites may be your potential partners. For example, the Shanghai Drama Arts Center. So actually, it is in charge of over 10 theaters. Therefore, if you visit their website, you can know their these structures and also know the potential partnerships. As I mentioned before, the associations and professional associations, and those are the peers, and your peers are your potential partners. And another is the agents, companies. You have to
相关的营销的活动，一个是中国艺术节，北京的中国
so
艺术节，每一年
the Beijing China Arts festivals, and the second is the Shanghai International Art Festival. There are the performing arts affair, and you can have your own booths to promote your performances. And at the same time, you will know your peers and also the agents and operation companies. So the state-owned institutes and the professional associations, and also as well as the arts festivals, are the three main channels you can find the partners. Our time is constrained. We only have time to answer about 2 questions. So, how to develop the arts after the COVID, and what's the COVID quarantine measures? So actually, the COVID quarantine measures are strict because in each city they want they don't want any outbreak in their cities. So this year, this actually the hope for this year is very low. If you have the invitation of this year, you have to be very prudent, and maybe you just lower expectations and even have the worst expectation on this. Maybe and then you will receive new good news. And the next year, there will be some relaxations because there's a lot of performance delayed, and the performance are from the government and as well as other institutes. And the second, the audiences need entertainment. Therefore, I emphasize the uniqueness and the creativities and the differentiations. The last question is also about the policy. And you see the tours in mainland. What's difference? What's the difference from the tours at present between the tours in the past? With the COVID quarantine measures, do we still need to preserve more time for logistics? Yes. So logistics, it's better to preserve 7 plus 3 days. So at least 10 days, at least 10 days um, preservation. Of course, each city has its own requirement, and 7 plus 3 is the basic. So if you want to go any cities of mainland, the 10 days quarantine is the basics. And after this 10 days basic quarantine, and it will be easier for you to go to other cities to do the tour because you will obtain this green QR code because you have to do this testing, the test every 2 days and to guarantee or maintain this red QR code. And I think as long if you have some connections with those confirmed case, of course your QR code will turn red. But I think Hong Kong friends and professionals are very prudent. And if it happens, perhaps you have to digest this budget and all the quarantines budget. And next year, maybe you can add these terms in your contract. And how do we reduce the loss and the cost from both sides? And this will be a good foundation for the mutual collaboration and mutual benefits. I think we have already overrun. Thank you, Mr. Lee's insights and excellent presentation. It enriches our knowledge. And we also have other sessions and forums from our HKAA. Thank you, everyone. And we hope to meet you in person in Shanghai soon. Sure, thank you. Welcome all of you. See you.